Hello, fabulous friends and fans. I am your astrologer, Nadiya Shah, and answering some frequently asked questions, some viewer questions. I love interacting with you guys. Facebook, Twitter, Google, plus my website, nadiyashah.com. And of course, YouTube comments as well. So please do keep those interactions coming. I so appreciate them. I love seeing what you guys are thinking. And it's just so much fun for me, very rewarding for me to have those interactions with you. So this particular video is addressing a recent message that I got. I think it's a great time to answer it. Through my website, Amy sent me an email through the contact form on my website. And she said, she explained a little bit about her situation, asking a Mercury retrograde question. So she said that she was a big fan. So thank you, Amy. Big hugs to you. Thank you. Big hugs to all the big fans out there. So she said that in the middle of April is when she started going about trying to get a new place, found a place a few weeks ago. Now Mercury's in shadow in mid-May, while Mercury's in shadow / retrograde or close to the retrograde is when the actual contract will be signed. And so she said, is it possible that this isn't about Mercury retrograde? Can we consider it not part of Mercury retrograde after all? And, you know, I read this and I thought, I so get this. I so understand this, because you don't want to know how many times I do the same type of thing with myself. I say, well, you know, it's not really the Mercury retrograde. It's, you know, this was happening before, and I've been thinking about moving for 6 months now. It doesn't, just because I happen to find that place or happen to actually be doing it during a Mercury retrograde. Look, I have to say, Mercury rules contracts, okay? Any type of contract, you want it to be strong. But also what you want is, when you do sign a contract, you just want to pay attention, that's all. You may actually be amazed how easy it is to get out of a lease or a contract. And so you just want to be mindful of the commitment you're making. Like, essentially, a lot of commitments, it's not like, you know, ancient times. If you made an agreement, you made a commitment, it wasn't just you who had to keep it, but your grandkids were responsible for that commitment or that debt. We don't have that anymore in our world. And so you would be surprised how many commitments you actually can get out of, and how sometimes those clauses to get out of it are so simple. Like, it might just be, yes, Amy said she's signing a 2-year lease. It might be that all you really need to get out of the lease is a 30-day notice or 60-day notice. That's really as simple as it is. So you just want to be mindful of that, because here's the thing. Ultimately, when Mercury goes direct, like the 3rd time, right? So Mercury's in shadow, goes retrograde over the same path, and then goes direct, and what's also called the shadow direct period. It is during that shadow direct period that we start to either resolve things or we realize that we want something different. And so while I completely understand, and you would be surprised how much I understand, because I just about every Mercury retrograde, I end up doing this to myself in a way. Because, you know, I want to take advantage of the opportunities that are in front of me. I want what I want when I want it, right? This is part of being human. However, I have learned again and again that what happens during a Mercury retrograde or during a Mercury shadow, you really want it to stay in that shadow or retrograde period. Because things just end up different than you initially think or expect. They can end up better than you initially think or expect, but just be prepared for something to be different. And so you might have a certain impression going in, but look, at the end of the day, you are signing a document while Mercury is particularly potent, because in the middle of May is when Mercury will be slowing down and going retrograde in the middle of May. So that means the closer we get to what is called Mercury stationary, So planet is stationary when it appears to be standing still in the sky. The closer we are to that particular day, regardless on shadow or retrograde or what, the more potent the energy of that retrograde is. And so you are going to be signing a document during this period. And I'm just going to invite you to be a little mindful that that's what's going to be happening for you. Because it might be that you want something to change after the fact. You want to change some terms. You want to consider other options. Maybe you didn't realize that, you know, a neighbor might be a smoker and you're allergic. Like, these types of things can happen, in all honesty. And the terms of an agreement, especially a written agreement, it might be that you're not fully appreciating what that agreement actually is saying. Again, this can work to your advantage or not. But if you're asking me, look, it's like this. You know where your learning is. You know what it is that you have to do. You know where it is that you are meant to be to learn whatever it is that you are meant to learn. And if that happens to be that you have to move, you have to sign a lease and move during a Mercury retrograde, then that's the way it is. You've got to trust your circumstances. That's what needs to be right now. However, if you came to me back in March, if you came to me in January and said, look, I'm going to have to move right around this time, Nadiya, what should I do? I think as an astrologer, being responsible to you, I would always say, like, look, you want to make sure that that document is signed before you enter shadow. But if it has to be, it has to be. And at the end of the day, we're just learning. It's all about our learning. So I think there's a couple of parts to this. One is, you don't want to take things too seriously, okay? And especially, I think Mercury retrogrades are reminding us, because Mercury also is the ancient trickster, right? It's reminding us not to take things too seriously. So you don't want to take things too seriously, but at the same time, what you don't want to do as well is sort of say to yourself that, okay, it doesn't apply, when you know in your heart of hearts that, yeah, it kind of does. So in a way, what ends up happening is what you don't want to do is not be honest with yourself so that you're not prepared, right? That's all I'm saying. Just be prepared. Things might end up differently than you are initially anticipating. That might be very much to your liking. It might be very much to your advantage. I would like to see what's happening in your chart. If you've got right now Jupiter moving through the 4th house of your chart, I look at that and I'm like, okay, wow, in late March you had that conversation between Jupiter and Uranus. Now, going forward, in June, we're going to have another peak moment in that conversation between Jupiter and Uranus. If you have Jupiter or Uranus transiting your 4th house, well, to me, that trumps what Mercury retrograde is doing. Mercury retrograde ultimately is about the details, right? So there might be a little bit of details you need to iron out or change a little bit in the fullness of time. However, the fact that you've got some really positive, hopeful energy taking place in the home sector of your chart, if that were the case, then I would say, you know what, that rules, that's dominant. Whatever it is that happens, however the agreement works out, ultimately, it will end up to your advantage. So we can also see little indications telling us that what is ultimately working out in your advantage. What I also do think about this as well with Mercury retrograde, yes, Mercury is the trickster, reminds us not to take things too seriously as well. But as I said, in my own experience, at the end of the day, your life is showing you what needs to happen now. Your life is showing you what it is that you can postpone, right? Your life is showing you what it is that you just don't need right now as well, or might never need as well. And so if your life is saying, look, here's a contract and it's got to be signed before a certain period, which I have done. There have been times when Mercury was retrograde or Mercury was in shadow or very close to stationary periods, and I had to sign documents. It was what it was. It was in front of me to do. And yes, there were some things that turned out in the fullness of time to be a little bit different, but I knew that this was a path that I needed to walk. It was a space I needed to be in. It was work that I needed to do. I could feel that in my spirit, and so I trusted that. And I will tell you, I do not regret those experiences. On the one hand, some of those experiences really helped me learn about myself, but also some of those experiences, in all honesty, have convinced me more and more that where it is possible, wait. Wait for a strong Mercury, if possible. And if it's not possible, trust your life and trust that things will work very much to your advantage. And as part of the mystery, even Mercury retrograde, in its own way, is moving your life towards greater love and greater wisdom as well. Well, thank you so much to everybody out there for watching. Thank you for your questions. Please do keep them coming. Facebook, Twitter, Google+, my website, nadiyashah.com, and YouTube comments as well. Until we connect again, take care.